Welcome to the Spendwise Moms channel, your homemaking resource hub. Today's video is on how to make lavash. This is a Middle Eastern flatbread that is thin, similar to a tortilla. But when you make lavash, you use yeast and let the dough rise instead of using baking powder like tortillas and rolling them out right away. I really enjoy making bread from different countries in the world. So what is lavash? Some people call pita bread lavash, but in the Middle East, lavash is a very thin bread that can be folded easily as shown in the video. It is soft and tastes good. Hopefully you can benefit from my experiences and mistakes. To start with, take 3/4 of a cup of water and 3/4 of a cup of milk and put it in a small saucepan. Warm this up on the stove. You just want it warm, don't let it get hot. Pour this liquid into a large bowl, then add 1 1/4 teaspoons of sugar and 1 1/2 teaspoons of yeast and stir it. Let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes. If you don't have a mixer, just use a bowl and a spoon. While I'm waiting for the yeast and sugar mixture to start to bubble, I usually just empty or fill the dishwasher. You can see here how the yeast and sugar mixture is bubbling. Then add 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of oil, and 2 of the 3 cups of flour. When you make bread, you never add all the flour at once. Usually the amount on the recipe is an estimate, and the actual amount you may need could be more or less. Turn on your mixer, or mix by hand until it is smooth and mixed well. Then I switch to 1/4 of a cup and I add more flour. After the first 1/4 of a cup, you can see that the dough is still sticky. After the second 1/4 of a cup, you can see that it is starting to pull away from the sides. My favorite flour is Wheat Montana flour, and it is a heavier flour than some that you buy in the store. For this reason, you may need a different amount of flour than I do. You can see that the dough is still too sticky, so I add another 1/4 cup of flour. So that's 2 3/4 cups total so far. The dough is looking pretty good, but it's not there yet. I added about another 2 tablespoons of flour, and that was enough. Next, get a large bowl and put a little bit of oil in it. Get your dough and roll it around in the oil and move it around the bowl as well so that the dough and the bowl are oiled. Let it rest for 40 to 45 minutes. I'm not always exact about rising times. I usually go do other things, and when I finish, I continue whether it's a couple of minutes before or after the suggested time. You make it work for you. Next, turn on the stove to a medium heat and let the frying pan heat up before cooking the lavash. Then divide the dough into 16 parts, or fewer, depending on how big your frying pan is. Since my pan isn't that big, I divided the dough into 16 parts. In the Middle East, lavash is rolled out into large, thin pieces and then hit onto the side of an oven to cook. Some people use a roller machine to get their dough thin. While most people don't have the same setup as they do, we can use what we have and still make a great lavash bread. The first batch I did was harder to roll out since the dough was stretchy. You can see that I did it first without using any extra flour to roll it out. I was concerned it would make the dough too dry. They tasted amazing, but were a little too thick, much like the thickness of a gordita. I cooked each loaf of lavash until it had brown spots on each side. I made another batch of dough and rolled it out really large and cooked it in the oven. While the dough looked great, it turned out to be too crisp, so that wasn't a better alternative. I took the last half of the dough and used some additional flour to roll them out. They rolled out perfectly, and I was able to roll them thinner. Once again, they tasted amazing. Bread doesn't always work out the first time you try it, but don't give up because you will get the hang of it. Bread making is a good skill to know, And you don't have to worry about preservatives or other additives in your bread when you make it yourself. Thanks for watching the Spendwise Moms channel. Please subscribe for more videos like this.